Hey everyone, Bitcoin is $115,000 per coin, up from as low as $108,000 per coin 2 days ago. But the last 2 days, yesterday essentially popped it up to 112, and today it was above 116 for a little while, and right now it's just under 116,000 at 115,700 as I record this. So what happens next? Well, the longer Bitcoin has been chopping around, absorbing a new price level, the quicker it rises when it does rise. And we've spent about 7 months mostly bouncing around between $100,000 and $110,000 per coin. So yes, we did drop very temporarily into the 90s. A number of months back, we dropped very shortly into the 80s and then the 70s. But most of the last 7 months has been, in the $100,000 to $110,000 range. And the longer we're in that range, the higher we can go when it's time to break out of that, because the higher percentage of the total Bitcoin is held by people who want to be in that range and higher than that range, rather than people that own a lot of Bitcoin at a lot cheaper prices than that and are looking to get off the bus. So the longer we've been in a range, typically the more fuel we have in the tank, as James Check would say, to go higher, because all that chopping around has gotten as many people on the bus and off the bus that want to be on the bus or off the bus. So also these runs usually happen in more than just 2 days. The reason for that is the first time Bitcoin's price starts to take off, people start taking notice, but it usually takes them a couple days to move funds around. For example, if you're doing wire transfers, often those take 24 hours. Just moving stuff around in the traditional financial system takes a couple days. So typically when you start getting a run like this, you start getting some fear of missing out, FOMO, and people start realizing that they're missing out on Bitcoin, which is they are, and so they move things around. And so usually rallies like this last at least 3 or 4 days, if not, 5 or more. And usually you don't top out at a price that's just modestly higher than where you started. You typically top out before a little breather at a price more significantly above where we currently are. So my prediction is that over the next 2 or 3 days, the price will climb above $120,000, potentially $125,000. And then at some point, maybe it's now, maybe it's in a couple days, we will take a breather as everybody who owns Bitcoin digests what it's like to have that much Bitcoin at that price level, which of course will involve some people who are now feeling wealthy and want to liquidate some of their Bitcoin, even though mostly that makes no sense, unless, of course, you're improving the life of you or your family, in which case that is the point of money, including Bitcoin. So we'll spend some time digesting this price level, and then I anticipate we will go higher. Now, we could get a radical sort of shoot for the stars sort of thing going, although that's less likely. It's more likely that we grind up to somewhere between $125,000 and $130,000 per coin, and then it takes us a series of days, weeks, or months to digest that new price level as people get on and off the elevator at that price level before we have all the right people that want to be on the elevator between $125,000 and $130,000 and are anticipating that it goes up, at which time, once all the people that could possibly want to liquidate Bitcoin, above $125,000 per coin, once all of them finally have, then we march higher. And of course, at some point, we could get a more significant dip of 30% or something like that, although it does not feel likely because we spent so much time, 7 months chopping around at prices that are barely below where we are. It just seems like a major correction is not in the cards. And all of the ones that we have had, such as the attacks on Iran, that caused a dip of Bitcoin, I think, to $98,000 or $99,000. But it lasted like a matter of hours. So I hardly call it a dip if if you only have to endure it for a series of hours. But anyway, so that's what I think is going to happen. I think the next few days is going to be exciting, and then it'll be boring for a little while, and then it'll be exciting again. Welcome to investing. That is how it works. Days of thrill interspersed with months and years of boredom, that ultimately results in you having way more money at the end. But after having to expend way more patience than you thought you were going to have to. That is the nature of investing, is it requires way more patience. As one famous investor said, the money is all made in the waiting, not in the buying and selling. The money is all made in the waiting. And the waiting is the hard part, and that's the part people don't like, but it's an inevitable part of investing. So enjoy the ride.